I'm Seumas Gallacher. I'm an author. I'm based here in Bahrain. Well, what you see pretty much is what you get. You have a guy here who has been around the world a few times and back again. As I say to people, I go all over the world and many other places. I spent almost 5 decades in the industry of banking and related services, which is where my day job is at the moment. However, having done all of that, I've spanned across about 3 continents now. So almost 25 years in Asia. The last 12 years are here in the Middle East. The last 2.5 wonderful years being in Bahrain, where I've enjoyed immensely. I like the tone of this place, I like the people here, and it sounds as if I'm running for president, but I haven't found a better place yet. I wouldn't say it's so much a journey, more of a tripping over from time to time. I think as a young man at school, like most people, I indulged in short stories and some poetry, the typical angst-ridden teenager railing against the planet. But after a while it sort of subdued a little bit and become a bit more mellow. But the current phase of novel writing started about 8 years ago when I was in Abu Dhabi. I just decided one day it was time for that book, which we all have in us, to come out of me. So I went walking for 10 nights on the Corniche and devised a storyline, and it all took off from there. It was only meant to be one book, and it has flowed on into a series now of 5. And astonishingly, the support I get on the ebooks, particularly on the Amazon Kindle channels, we're approaching 100,000 downloads, which just blows me away. The novels themselves are basically loosely clustered around 3 former SAS, the Secret Service guys in the UK, who retire. They set up their own specialist firm, and whilst looking after their high-level clients and so on, they run up against the international crime lords, drug syndicates, people traffickers, cash launderers even from the banking system, and all of that wraps into global journeys for these guys. So I get a lot of geography in the place as well. Indeed, some people have hinted it might be time now for these to be picked up and perhaps made into a series of television or even movies, which of course would delight me. I don't tend to focus on trying to get a balance, but it just seems to happen that way. I'm a banker by profession. But many years ago, in fact 30 years ago, the group I was associated with in Asia sent me to Harvard, the lovely name drop there, to the advanced management program. When I came back from that, I became Mr. Troubleshooter for the corporates. And that has again broadened out into my own firm now, where I do specialist processing, restructuring, reorganization, and even mentoring and executive coaching these days. So it's all part and parcel of it. I love doing that because it's people oriented. The distaff side and the writing is very, very much the loneliness of a long distance runner. But I get immersed in that and I enjoy that. I get a buzz from the writing. And indeed, I've noticed when I read my own books from some time back, having not seen them for a while, I get amazed saying, did I actually write this? Because I like it, and that's a fantastic buzz. I would like to write something a bit more literary in style, if you know what I mean, more higher brow. And I have something in mind that's been percolating for some years about the life of certain families from various parts of the globe living in the Middle East, and how through an Arabic teacher the young people in the families learn about the truths of the universe, that we're all equal, we all have dignity and so on. That's a higher plane type of thing. The novels I do right now are basically airline pickups, read and throw away. Well, I could tell you that, but then I'd have to kill you. But seriously, I think every author will tell you that every book he or she writes is an amalgam of experiences, sensations, people and characters that they've met during the course of their lives. And I've been privileged to meet so many different people. And as we say, we disguise the names to protect the guilty. But much of it is loosely on real life. All you have to do is look at the cable news channels and change the names to your storylines. After that, just let your imagination flow. That's how I devise it. It was more by good fortune, to be frank. I was at a function at the Capital Club one evening and I bumped into a member and we started discussing writing, and she said, why don't you come to the Bahrain Writers Circle? I didn't know it existed, my bad. So I went along and I became totally immersed with it. The people are fantastic. It is the most friendly, supportive group of authors I've ever seen. And we engage with each other 2 or 3 times in a month, and we have certain events as well which help us. And we encourage particularly younger writers to come through also. And it's a joy to watch the lights going on, particularly among the younger writers. I get a marvellous association with the Bahrain Writers Circle. Well, this is something that I focus on very much in my blog. I have a blog which essentially is an old writer giving his experience in learning how to write and all of this sort of stuff. And so far, a lot of that has been focused on what I have learned, and I try to share that with people. But more specifically, here in Bahrain, I've been invited from time to time to speak at gatherings with business people, but the highlight was being asked by the University of Bahrain to come and speak to their students about writing and the whole 10 yards of the business of writing, which involves more than just the scribbling. The writing is comparatively the easy part. After that, if you want to be a serious writer engaged in a marketplace, there has to be an understanding of how the markets work. And being a businessman, that came more easily to me, I think, than probably most. And now I'm being asked again by the University of Bahrain to come this month and deliver something about how to do a business plan, which essentially will be the pickup of how I do my business writing. And all of that is the package. I have a small guide. About 2 or 3 years ago, I was a guest speaker at the Dubai Literary Festival. And I went there in 2 modes. One as an author, and one as a so-called social networks guru. And believe me, I'm the oldest Jurassic on the planet with computers. But I devised my own way of using a handful of the social channels to engage with my readership. And people said, why don't you put that into a book? So I knocked together a small guide on it, and that's also on Amazon Kindle, and it sells very well. Very simple and to the point. Self-publishing steps to successful sales. How about that for a snappy title? Stop aspiring. Aspiring is a negative word. If you write at all, you are a writer. Just keep on writing. However, as with any vocation or profession, it's essential to work at your craft. Hone what you're doing. And most importantly, read other good authors. And once you've done that, read more good authors, and then more good authors. And pick what you like from the styles of these until your own author's voice develops.